I'm Queen ShanShan, and this is a broadcast podcast. Broads. Hey girl, hey. Well, this is it. Our season finale, episode 31. Wow. It's been a fantastic season, and I really want to thank each and every one of you, all you broads out there, for listening to our weekly podcast. Edward, I want to thank you. How you doing over there?
I'm good over here with my water and my glasses on.
How are you feeling about our episodes that we've had? This is our literally 35th episode, or the 31st episode.
31st episode. I feel great about them, but I would like them to be a little bit shorter. Mm-hmm. But
we're working on that time.
I think the reason I say that is I think people need to hear content in more digestible one bites, rather than 2 hours, something like that.
We're going to definitely work on that for season 3.
We can. What's the thing that that's launching soon by DreamWorks? It's called Quibi.
What is that?
It's when they're taking movies and they're chopping them up into like 15-minute segments.
Really?
Yeah. So that's what's coming. So that's what we're going to talk about.
We're going to be a Quibi.
We're going to be
Queen Quibi over here. We have had 18 episodes. This is a very long season. It's not like we had a million seasons, but this is our second season. And we just went with it. We just went hog tie wild with 18 seasons. But season 3 is going to be a lot shorter. And that's going to start at the end or close to the middle of August. But we overthunk it. But you know what? We're so new. We're babies.
We're babies.
We're infants into this new genre, this new hobby of mine. But you know what? The listeners are listening. We have now over almost 4,800 downloads, and 200 more. We'll have 5,000 unique downloads.
And how many countries were you telling me earlier? 30?
Oh my goodness! So I texted and I said we already have over 35, but who's listening? We now have listeners in Finland, Thailand, Poland, Venezuela, Brazil, Sweden, Portugal, and Turkey. By the way, marhaba means hello in Turkish.
Oh, I like that. I like turkey. I like me some turkey.
I can't wait because I'm going to Turkey this fall for vacation.
You know what? Israel is not listening, but you have Mr. Israel in front of you.
I sure do have Mr. Israel.
So you should add that country right now.
Absolutely. My international broad base is growing, and I thank you so much. We're going to introduce Adam in a minute, but we want to unite the people on this show and not divide. And that's interesting that we're speaking about that this week. We're not going to get into that, though. Politics.
But I hear that Trump is really good at math, but especially division.
He's excellent at division.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, don't even get me started. Edward.
Hi.
Hi. How are you? Okay. Edward, what are your thoughts about this iconic time in our life? Like, in regards to the completed 31 episodes.
I can't actually believe it because I remember, like, the inception of it. Like, sitting around the table that night, we were all having dinner. It was me and you and Danny and Haley and Jazz.
That's right.
And you were talking about it, and I was like, you should just do a podcast and spare the financial burden of, like, actually getting up a YouTube channel running and going and everything like that. And feels like before we knew it, we're at 31 episodes. But it was a lot of work that went into it.
We've done a lot of work.
A lot of work that went into it. And I don't think people out there, I want to say this, and I don't want to get too off topic, but I had a friend text me last week, right before I started the show, and I think I told you about that, but she didn't know how to listen to podcasts. So, I think, people out there that aren't listening, obviously, because you don't know how to use your iPhone or your devices or whatever. It's super simple. It's posted also on Facebook. If you don't follow Facebook, I understand that too. But this podcast is available on every major podcast platform.
It is.
And it's like listening to the radio. So I'm not throwing shade if you don't know how to listen to a podcast. I understand. But it's super simple. You just really download the app and search for a broadcast podcast.
That's right.
And listen away.
Thank you. And don't forget, we are also We also have our webpage, which is abroadproductions.com. I'm on Instagram, Queen ShanShan. Instagram tag is also Abroad Podcasts. And we're going to just list that again at the end of the show, as always. But you know what? We want to say thank you so much. And we also want to thank Wadua Wali. She graced our mics last week. She is the director of communications, PR, communications at Warner Media. And I really loved her story because she is a Black queer woman that was raised in Florida, a very conservative part of the country in Florida. And she had a dream. She was a band nerd. She was shy. She was not sure about herself. But she grew into this amazing powerhouse woman. Speaking of powerhouse, we're going to have, again, Adam on the show in a minute. And she had challenges growing up and coming out, and she strived to reach to her beautiful potential, and she's just doing so well right now. She's in the media, she's digital media and television, and she's just doing gangbusters.
You know what I want to talk about real quick, and this is another off-topic thing, but I promised that I would do that tonight, kind of be spontaneous. Danny and I were talking about the show last week, and this week actually, after he had listened to it, he said, you guys should have gone into what it's like to be a band nerd, because think about it, just think about the people that that were in band, how that was such a great community of individuals and people who were united from different sexualities, different backgrounds, but we all found some kind of common thread in band.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Maybe we will have a bunch of band nerds on the show.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and how we found our people.
Adam, did you ever play an instrument when you were in school?
I tried to play the piano.
Okay.
Unsuccessfully, but I played the vocal instrument.
Yes, because you used to be a singer. That's right. That's right. You were on Broadway, and you had all kinds of opportunities being an actor. You were in great plays and great musicals in New York.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's a good thought. Maybe we should have a band nerd session.
Yeah, it'd be great. I play my horn.
I don't.
You play your clarinet.
I play my clarinet, but I can't remember playing the clarinet.
You think I can do an embouchure now after 31 years? But we could try.
We can try. That'll be fun. More after the break.
I can't believe this is happening.
What's going on, Edward?
I want to remodel my home and I can't find a contractor that will return my call. And I'm nervous about hiring one. I just don't want to be ripped off.
Well, I'm glad you told me. I just remodeled my own home and landscaped the backyard, and it's beautiful. RB Paving and Landscape Design. Look at my pictures.
Whoa, they did a phenomenal job for you and your family. What do they specialize in?
They specialize in concrete, asphalt, and landscape design. They made my backyard amazing with a custom-made fire pit and water feature. They even planted new trees and plants in the backyard, and it looks fabulous. Now we can enjoy our yard in the summertime and have cocktails.
I need them. What's their number and web address?
Ask for Ruben or Priscilla at 760-947-4191, or you can find them online at www.beltranpavingandlandscape.com. They serve the High Desert, San Bernardino County, and greater Los Angeles areas, and tell them Queen ShanShan sent ya, hunty. We have the esteemed pleasure of welcoming back Mr. Adam Barr.
Whoop, whoop.
Hi, Adam. Yay! Welcome back. You decided to come back to this layer of loud mouthing and laughter and my apartment, basically my studio apartment. Thank you so much for coming. How are you?
I'm great. You mean loudmouth? You mean gorgeous, amazing, fun, funny, incredible, empowering individual here?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, here's your $5. Here's your $5. Adam, a lot has happened since you've been here. You and your wife Amanda, your gorgeous, beautiful wife, was here. Good Lord, was that 3 months ago? That was episode 13, and it was titled "Relationships Are Taxing." What a great episode! A lot of people liked it. They thought it was very informative, educating, and really inspiring. Your story that you came here from Israel not with $400 in your pocket. You came to New York and you thought you were going to be a star immediately. You'd had your 80s pleather jacket and parachute pants on.
Yeah. Just like Beverly Hills 90210.
90210. I listened to the podcast the other day and I was dying when you said that. And real quick, if you don't mind, we're not having chicken tonight because you're going to have a procedure, right? Just to make sure that you're okay. And so we're not having chicken tonight. How are your thoughts with no chicken tonight?
I dearly miss it. And I did stock my fridge with a whole bunch of chickens for tomorrow tomorrow and the next day. So
well, we wish you luck on your procedure.
Thank you so much.
And I know when you're better tomorrow, you're going to have a big old fat piece of chicken.
Yeah, you bet I will.
Maybe
I'm probably going to send you a picture with the chicken.
Just briefly, for those who haven't listened to that great episode, can you give us like a 4-minute history on who you are? How did you become Adam Barr in terms of getting into the financial world? And I also want to talk, we didn't really get a chance to talk on the episode, why did you want to become a U.S. citizen?
Well, how do I put it in 4 minutes?
Yeah.
That's the question. So, I grew up in Israel, son to a single mom, had one brother and 3 sisters, so I'm the oldest of 5. My mom had gone through a very, very tough situation, a lot of abuse, physical abuse. And we, as kids, we saw this at home, and we really had to deal with not only defending ourselves and protecting ourselves, but more importantly, really making sure that my mom was okay. And so, when my dad was not so present, my mom had to figure out on her own how to support herself, how to get a job. As a young boy, I was watching her trying to get a job unsuccessfully, relying on government programs, and just always, many, many times we didn't have food on the table and we were homeless for a while. So, a lot of things to deal with. But even though I was going through things like this, I always knew that, there's something else out there and that there's a light somewhere, that it doesn't necessarily have to be this way. And especially when I was meeting individuals, like I had one of the foster families that I met. The father was it was an American family, and the father was an attorney, and the mom was an English teacher. So she used to teach English to in schools, and then they took me as a foster kid. So seeing this family and how they conduct themselves, it was just so beautiful. They were just loving, they were caring for each other. The family was just like sitting together on a Shabbat dinner or Friday night dinner, and like singing and dancing and like having like festive day. And I remember saying, wow, is this how it is in America? And I just really admired them for the closeness and the love and the warmth that they had in the family. And then this American attorney, kind of took me under his wing, and instead of me being on the street, he just wanted to make sure that I'm working and I'm productive. So he took me to his office, and he allowed me to pick the mail and sort it, and little by little gave me more and more roles. And it just, I was so inspired by him and learned, how to be a business owner like he was. And I wanted to do that in America. It's that's how my dream started.
Yes.
How I wanted to come to America.
When you were here, you got here, like I said, you had a few bucks in your pocket, and you were in New York, and you said, here I am in New York, and you thought you were going to be this discovered individual.
Yes.
You were on Broadway. You were actually an actor, a singer on Broadway. You were in a few Broadway shows. What were those shows again?
Fiddler on a Roof, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I did Moses. There was a lot of biblical stuff.
A lot of biblical stuff. Like I said in the podcast, I wonder why, because you guys should see what Adam looks like. He's a little amazing guy that's very gorgeous and very biblical looking. So he could be the next Jesus or the Joseph
Jesus Christ,
or Noah or whatever. Perfect character. But unfortunately, you had an accident. You were playing basketball or something, and someone jabbed you in the throat when you were playing on accident, right?
Yes.
So that paralyzed your throat, and you were injured.
Right.
So you had to stop singing.
Yeah. My larynx was crushed. I feel like the universe is teaching me a lot of things along the way, and at the time, you might not be open to really seeing all those amazing things that happen because it was obstacles, right? I was playing basketball one day. Someone elbowed me really hard on the throat, on the voice box, and just crushed my larynx. So couldn't speak for almost a year.
Wow.
I couldn't eat properly, swallow. I couldn't communicate, right? And so that was a very, very humbling experience. And for someone who was a former bodybuilder, like really strong and big, and confident, once you lose your voice, it's almost like losing your identity, and that's something that I had to deal with quite a bit. In fact, the way I started writing the book that we're launching next week, it was almost as like trying to express my frustration with the whole journey of not being able to communicate, with the medical bills that I accumulated because of not having health insurance, not being prepared, and just like all of the challenges of finding doctors that really care about really treating someone who like me, who was dealing with such a not only physical challenge or vocal challenge, but also like it's an emotional. It's a devastation, for someone who is a performer. It's completely devastating.
Well, we're going to talk about that because in your book you said that because of your language, you speak Hebrew. Hebrew is your first language, and English is your second language. That it was still very difficult for you to write this book because you were trying to find the words to describe. Right. We're going to get into that in a minute. So, cut to present day. You come to LA because you had to get more surgeries, but at the same time you had to work, and you had to get a job. So you worked in retail. You met someone who inspired you to come into the insurance business.
That's right.
You worked with him under the guise. In the meantime, you were in a relationship, and you were studying. I mean, I remember meeting you during that time, and you worked long hours. At the same time, you would go home and study. Read about what was going on in the industry. Has been an insurance agent. You wanted to get your Series 7 license, for God's sakes, Series 63, all these hardcore tests. And beyond that, you were studying to be an American citizen. So I don't want to get too political, but this is very apropos timing. Let's be honest. We are in a time where this administration isn't accepting of legal or illegal immigrants, to be honest with you. We've had a very, very bad time this week with Trump saying to 4 American women who are Congress women, who are 3 of them that were actually born in the United States, and 1 who became a citizen at a very, very young age, basically tell them to go back to their country. Has anyone ever told you has anyone said that to you, Adam? Go back to where you come from?
Early on, but it's individuals who really didn't relate to who I was, maybe as a human being, or as someone who's, just have the same rights and should have the same equal opportunities as they do. But, I never really I love this country so much. I can't even express
on it.
How much I do.
We love this country very much.
And I think there's a lot of amazing people out there that come from outside of the country that contribute a lot to this amazing spirit of America and have a lot to give and want to be a part of the community, but part of the society. And so, I always looked at America as a connecting and accepting and loving, and even though I had my own challenges with the system, right?
Right.
But I think the spirit of America, that's what's important. No matter what people say and what political
I have a
stuff is going
question.
on.
I travel all over the world, and we're still revered. People still want to come to this country for a reason, for opportunity, to make their lives better.
Yeah.
Ergo, we have all these people who are in these quote unquote concentration camps, whatever you want to call these detention camps, because they wanted something better for their families and for themselves. When you came to this country, you had hardly any money. You wanted a dream. What was the vision like in Israel? What do people? Well, I shouldn't say people. What was your vision of? Why did you want to come to America? What were your dreams of coming to this country?
Yeah, I mean, so remember, like America is such a close ally for Israel, right? One of the memories that I had about when I was a young teenager was during the first Desert Storm, right? And I was in sealed room, and we were having gas masks and all those things. And I remember like carrying my baby sister inside of like almost like an incubator type of thing and trying to help my mom with the gas mask and all this. I was like 12 or 13 years old.
Wow.
And, but I knew even at the time, America is with us. America is with us. This is the dialogue, right? And so we grow up to really admire America. I mean, we share the same kind of Western ideology. We watch similar shows. We love the same music, and and all the movies. When movies come to Israel from America, it's like, wow, it's just absolutely incredible, right? And in fact, a huge influence of my bodybuilding career was because of Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Correct.
who was an immigrant who
That's right.
succeeded tremendously in the United
Tremendous
States, right?
success.
And done a lot of things. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Rocky, all of this people. Who
These were people that you guys
icons for us.
Icons
it's
for you
like
guys.
amazing. Even like Dolph Lundgren, and I mean, you Steven
God,
Seagal, all those,
hilarious.
all those
Seagal,
things. My
oh my
God.
Because you watch their movies, you're like, I want to be like him.
Yeah, I remember, like, I was, like, infatuated with Wonder Woman. Like, absolutely infatuated.
So was I.
Oh, my God. It's like...
Bionic Woman,
I
Wonder
wanted to have
Woman.
it's
The magic lasso. Me and my brother would play, and he would be the criminal, and I would get the rope, or I would get whatever, the belt, and that would be my magic lasso. I was like, you're going to tell the truth. You're going to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And I would spin around in circles and twirl. Yes, exactly. And now Gal Gadot,
Oh, yeah.
which
She's-
is phenomenal,
right.
as really actress playing an American icon, Wonder
Yeah.
Woman. Good
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah,
And
I heard she's doing
stunning.
she's beautiful.
She's
I think
beautiful.
she won, I don't know if she won Miss Universe or she won Miss something.
She won it.
Oh, I can
Yeah,
see
that's
why.
how she got to
Yeah.
be.
For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, she's freaking gorgeous.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
And she's
huh?
talented too.
Yeah.
So you became a citizen. When did you actually come up to the podium and swear your allegiance to America? When did you become a citizen?
That was a very emotional moment. So I think it was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
It took me a long time. I've been here 23 years
Wow.
now. More than half of my life. So I've been here longer now officially than I've been in Israel.
Wow.
Actually, which is really crazy, and amazing. And so about 5 years ago, my paperwork got lost somewhere in the bureaucracy, and I had to like really deal with
Start all over
a
again.
bunch of stuff. Yeah, and so when I got my moment in front of the officer, they finally realized that there was a hiccup in the paperwork, and they just
Did you
granted
get an
it to me.
attorney for that?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, you spend
It's
a lot of money, and
As an American citizen, born American citizen, I don't know the whole process of the immigration process. I know it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's timely. It's not like you just put an application and you become a U.S. citizen. There's lots of
Not
hoops
at
and
all.
circles and bridges and cannons to jump over.
a lot.
A lot. Especially
And-
after 9/11, it's even harder.
Yeah, and
become
it's
a citizen.
it's scary for an immigrant because you you don't feel or you don't know, right, or get validation that you have the same rights. You don't know that. You're always afraid, is someone's going to kick me out, and especially for individuals who went through a lot of trauma or abuse, or the environment where they came from is toxic, or they want a better life for themselves and their family. It's a really, really tough thing because they don't have any security. And I just always looked at people as equal human beings. It doesn't matter.
Good.
It's everybody's equal, right?
Good. Absolutely. We're going to take a break and get into the book. And what is your goal about this new publication that you wrote?
Today, I'm finally an adult. You know why? Because I got life insurance, y'all. I got my life insurance policy through ShanInsure.com. That's spelled ShanInsure.com. Be sure to check them out because they are a full-service licensed insurance agency. And you can be an adult too. Be sure to tell them that Queen ShanShan sent you.
Adam, what's the name of your book?
The full name of the book is Unleash Your Financial Powerhouse. Why unleash? Because all of us has this within. We have this notion that we need to acquire something new, that maybe we don't have this within us. Maybe we are not good at math. Maybe we haven't learned it in school. Maybe we're not good with money. All of those things that we think to ourselves that sometimes could be self-defeating thoughts. But we all have that within, and that's why I chose to call it Unleash Your Financial Powerhouse, because it's within you.
Did you use the word powerhouse because you used to be a bodybuilder? You used to know how to be strong and muscly and had great physique, and you knew how to build yourself physically. Was the word powerhouse emboldened into your mind in terms of how you wanted to create this story?
Absolutely. My physical journey had taught me that even physical things are very like confidence or strength come from mindset and emotional presence and strength, right? So the powerhouse is comprised of few different layers. It's physical, it's emotional, and it's intellectual, right? And so all of those things come together and to create a real confident individual, and someone who doesn't doubt themselves when it has to do with even things that are can make someone so insecure about money, right? Even things like that, to have someone empowered and to be able to know and to realize and to fully believe that they can be this powerhouse.
In your book, you talk about financial dignity. What does financial dignity mean to you?
So this is, a very interesting choice of words, right? So how does financial fit with dignity, right? But when you really dig down and kind of like take a look at what's the small conversations that we have internally, right? What do we actually think and say to ourselves when we encounter something that may throw us off our feet, when we want to buy something, or when we think about a house that maybe seem unachievable to us, or when we hear lingo about stocks or bonds or things that are not always very familiar to us. So what is the immediate response that happens? Is it like, oh my God, I don't know too much about stocks, or options? But that's just for those people who are wealthy and rich. And like I talked about before, like when I saw my mom going through like all these challenges, trying to get a job and dependent on the government, and people talk about money. Money was just so foreign. And I thought I could never, I would never be able to be like those rich people who had Mercedeses and all these nice things and, were able to travel with their family and do all those things. So when you really, really think about it, those conversations and dialogues stay with us on another level as we grow up, right?
true.
And so when you feel like you have your own dignity, and the belief, and not only the belief, the conviction that you deserve anything that you set your mind to, whatever it is that you could think of financially that you want, you deserve it. And not only that you deserve it, it's if you take certain steps and certain actions and acquire certain knowledge and language, you'll be able to accomplish those things.
I remember you saying, again, last on the podcast, is because of you didn't speak English or read English very well, you were very nervous about learning the whole financial, like you said, the lingo.
Yeah.
Because when I speak the English well and I read the English well, I was nervous taking my test, the insurance, because there's a lot of things, a lot of laws, a lot of procedures, ways of doing insurance. This financial dignity is what I had to earn myself, because I was right there with you, Adam. Before I was in insurance, I was in real estate, so I did well in real estate. I didn't have the acumen before I was in real estate to make that kind of money. So I was also like, I'm never going to be this person. I'm never going to make this kind of money. I'm never going to have this kind of car, because I didn't see it. And I had the dignity is also, when you said the other three aspects, I think dignity also includes spirituality. How we see life through a spiritual eye and make sure that we're centered. Doesn't matter what religion you are, but we still have some sort of spirituality in our mind, self-respect in that view. And with that being said, you've always been a leader, and I think that people who are going to read this book, the dignity, they're going to be like, oh, okay, I get it now, because they're going to feel more comfortable with what and how you explain to reach their financial powerhouse.
Absolutely. And you touch it right at the heart of the word, right? So self-respect, for example, all of the stuff that we do to ourselves, and we beat ourselves down, and we just create more and more doubts and fears and anxiety around those topics. When you begin with respecting yourself and saying, no, I'm not going to tell myself that I cannot do it, or I'm going to change the dialogue instead from, I can't do it, to how can I do it, right? All of those things are the things that really start the transformation from having lack of confidence and avoiding the topic to having financial dignity and confidence and strength and being a powerhouse.
I have a question. Do you equate physical strength with financial strength?
100%, because physical strength, thank you for asking that question. And physical strength is really certain type of mindset. It's even when I used to work out for the national competition or for Mr. California, right? Most of the things that it required from me, aside of going to the gym and like being really disciplined with food and like watching everything and resting and all of this regimen, right? But the strongest thing that I needed to have is the mindset and just taking the steps and the actions every single day. Money is exactly the same thing. Entrepreneurship is exactly the same things. And you get tested, right? Because things will be challenging, right? You may not be able to afford something, or you may not want to go to the gym sometimes, or right? All of those things are just challenges that come in a specific form that relates to this, area of focus, right? Yeah. But that focus and mindset is really what it gets someone from point A to point B, and having point B being a lot better than point A.
Absolutely.
I find it in myself as well. When I am exercising, when I'm going to the gym, I'm in that frame of mind to be like, oh my God, I can do this. That little small, just getting into the door of the gym is a big deal for me.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I was not in my mindset yesterday to go meet my trainer yesterday. I'm like, oh God, it was 8 o'clock in the morning. It was like early to get there. And I'm like, I was so not. But after that workout and she kicked my bootay, I felt phenomenal. And I had a great day yesterday. What I enjoyed about your book is that I read that I love that you were able to define certain types of strategies. I am an insurance agent, so I do know these for me because I had to study that, and I have to encourage my clients to get into certain types of life insurance policies as well. But I'm not I'm not a certified financial planner, so I sought after you, and you got me into an annuity. I'm just going to be straightforward. People don't know. But going back to talking about financial dignity, they are scared about these defined words and phrases. I think it's important for you to discuss in this podcast what is the difference between a Roth IRA and a regular traditional IRA. Because a lot of people don't know the difference on that, and they just think that their 401k is enough. They work in a corporation for 30, 40 years. They get their 401k and they're set. But they're not. They didn't have the opportunity. I don't want to say educated because I don't want to.
I think it's appropriate to say educated because people don't know.
Well, financial, that's what
People
financial
information.
There's even
is all about.
there's even a SEP IRA too. There's another. There's a good
that's
one
usually for
business.
people who are self-employed, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So what is the difference between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA, and where do you think Joe average American should go?
So let me start with the definition of it, okay? So, and I'm going to simplify it on purpose. So Roth IRA or traditional IRA is just a box. And it's a box when you can put financial tools or investments in that box. And the way it gets treated, a Roth IRA is something that you put money in after you already paid taxes, so it's after-tax dollars, and then you can defer those taxes all the way till retirement without ever paying taxes on the income or the distribution that comes out at the end, right? It's very attractive for a lot of people because, especially if you think they're going to be in a higher tax bracket in the future, and you don't want to pay taxes on gains, right? Like, because all the other financial tools in America, we have to pay taxes on gains. So for people who don't want to pay taxes on gains, they use Roth IRA. Now, not everybody can qualify for it because if you're making too much money in the IRS's eyes, you don't qualify for it. But there's other alternatives that you could use. So it's important to emphasize there's just tools, right? It's just a box. The traditional IRA works the other way around. So remember I said it's after-tax dollars. You pay the toll when you get in, right? And then you don't have to pay the toll. You can drive on the expressway without having to worry about paying, right? The traditional IRA works very similar to a 401k or a SEP IRA or a simple IRA. It has a variety of different names, or 403Bs if you're in a nonprofit, or schools, or 457. Exactly the same thing. Same box with the same tax treatment. It has maybe small variation that is different, but the tax treatment is the same. You get to reduce it on your taxes today, meaning, let's say if you made $100,000 a year and you contributed to your IRA maybe $6,000, so now you're only going to be taxed on $96,000, and that money,
or $94,000,
or $94,000 rather, and then the money that is in that box, the traditional IRA, does not get taxed every year. So that's what deferral actually means.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
'Cause I'm confused. Okay, so if it's a traditional, do you buy it through your employer before taxes? You can do that? Because isn't it, if it's not, isn't it everything IRA?
No, IRA it stands for individual retirement account. So if you're doing it through employers, generally speaking, it's going to be a 401k or one of those plans.
Exactly.
You can roll it over to an IRA.
An IRA.
Either one.
Okay.
But if you roll it over to a Roth, you'll have to pay taxes.
Right.
Some people do because they don't want to.
If you do roll it over, you have to pay taxes?
Yes, if it's a Roth.
Okay, if it's a Roth.
If you want to roll it over to a Roth.
Okay.
Because you're taking it from a
Takes it
taxable,
out up front. You don't pay it in the end.
Correct.
There's no
That's
total
exactly
toll
right.
booth at the end.
Yes, and so
Okay.
and I'll explain in a second why a lot of people, actually I say no. So, situations change as we get older. A lot of people, when they're younger, they're married, filing jointly, and then maybe that breaks apart, or maybe someone passes. Now it turns from married, filing jointly to a single taxpayer, which is higher,
Right.
right?
Like me.
Right. And then also the expenses or the deduction also gets eliminated or reduced, because it's, think about it, if someone owns a home, right? Most of the deductions on a home or a business is in our youthful year and your working years. When you retire now, you have much less deductions, generally speaking, to offset the income. So, single, less deductions, potentially about the same money that we made when we were working, right, equates to paying more taxes. And that's why a lot of people want to move into Roth, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
I follow you now.
Okay,
All right,
that makes
that
total
cleared it up.
sense.
Yep.
Do you believe in an individual having both?
Absolutely. So, because we don't know, nobody has a crystal ball,
Right.
right? And even if someone tells you, don't believe it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we don't know if taxes are going to go up, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea behind Roth is like, we want to make sure that if taxes are going to go up, then we don't have to pay additional taxes.
Correct.
Like you would in a traditional IRA, right? Or other, what's called qualified plans, right? 401k, 403b, all of those names, right? And again, it's important to note that it's just tools and it just names has the same tax treatment. So when you think about investments, think about what purpose am I trying to achieve with this financial tool, not is this the best investment for me, right? Once you know the purpose first, then you can align the financial tool with the purpose, not the other way around, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. Since this is such a big industry town for entertainment, it's no strange fact to know that a lot of studio executives get paid a lot of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're also paid big bonuses, and they're usually paid in May. Okay, some are paid at the end of the year, but a lot of them are paid in May.
Why May?
I don't know. It's new. Probably it's a new tax,
Fiscal?
right? The
No,
tax
not
year
fiscal.
or something like that.
Maybe
It
'cause
starts
it
in
is after
April,
tax-
then
maybe
it's
'cause
like
after taxes?
yeah, they've got all their books figured out by then.
Okay.
So that they grant these big bonuses, right? So what would you say to the person that's maxing out their 401k at 18.5, I believe it is
good
this year,
question.
and taking their $100,000 bonus that they're
Ooh,
getting,
good question.
and what should they do with that? Can they only buy one Roth IRA, or can they put it?
Yeah.
Can you buy 5 of them?
No,
or?
you cannot. You actually, so you're limited to about $6,000 a year on a Roth IRA or traditional IRA. You're limited to about $19,000 in a 401k. But there's different things. We oftentimes we create private pensions for individuals with high income. And also, by the way, if you make too much income for the IRS, which is about 140 something thousand for individual or 170 per couple, you disqualify from contributing to a Roth IRA. So we have to find oftentimes alternative tools, financial tools, to offset or mitigate or reduce or eliminate some of the taxes. So, one of the things that we do with bonuses, for example, is the categorization of where that money is going to go. How is it going to be received? Is it being received as a W-2? Can the employer do it as a 1099? Can this be categorized as royalties or capital gains? There's a lot of different ways, and every situation of an individual is different. And some employers are willing to do things that other employers are not. So, so we overcome those challenges when we know the person's situation. Do they have a side business? Are they able to write off some things on that side? Are they able to open another pension or private pension on that side and offset the overall income or the household income? So a lot of things, a lot of moving parts, but very, very simple once you see it. And, we give people a lot of clarity. And to me personally, and hence why I wrote the book, I want people to know this information and be empowered and feel confident about, that's why we do this and this and that.
Right.
Because my goal is X.
Yeah.
Right. And I always take them back and align them. This is the purpose of this thing. So even you mentioned annuities, for example. A lot of people have bad rap about annuities or insurance. We hear those things all the time. And, oftentimes it's because of misinformation. So two concepts. One, there is no perfect financial tool, right? So, and every tool has pros and cons. And it's what you're trying to accomplish with it. Because think about 2008, right? We had real estate, right? And we had a massive crash,
Yes,
right? It
we
was
did.
like 30, 40, 50% in
That's
some
right.
areas, right? So are we going to say that real estate is not a good financial tool, right? So if we use, for example, I call it tools because, if we want to, hang a picture on the wall, right?
Mhm.
So we need a hammer and a nail, right?
Right.
We're not gonna use pliers, for example. Well, we could, but it's not gonna be as efficient or as effective,
Right.
right? The same thing with tools. If the right tool in the wrong hands or the wrong tool in the right hands, will not align if the purpose is not there, right? So it's important to think about it as tools, right?
What is the main message you want your readers to get out of this book?
Everything is possible. It doesn't matter where you are right now. Even though we don't learn about money in school, it actually doesn't take that long to feel extremely confident and make decisions that could impact your life, could be life-changing. And just even by starting to read this book, which is only about 140, 150
Really easy
pages,
read,
yeah,
yeah.
very easy read.
Very easy.
And with some showers of stories and stuff like
We
that in
always want
between.
stories.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so that first initial exposure to new language that I did my best to keep very, very simple, so we can, we could say, oh, I understand this makes sense, right? But there's a lot of sprinkled high-level concept there that once you know those things, you could really design your life, your financial life, with a lot of power and a lot of confidence.
I liked your book because when I was reading it, it was like a almost like an ABC's book
Yes.
of financial strategies that I can definitely take some interesting points from, and I will trust. And in turn, you hope to get obviously clients from this too, right?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, this is, of course, I always want to work with individuals who are, really committed to help themselves and
Right.
really change the outcome of their future, right? That's what I'm super passionate about it. But I'm saying yes and no because I might, I might move it into a nonprofit where, yeah, and so my passion is really giving back. I'm at a point, my life changed a lot. I remember the first year that I came to America, I made probably less than $9,000 a year,
Wow.
and I thought
That
it
was
was
a-
amazing. I
that
thought it
was
was
a nice
amazing. I think I was even able to save money, and getting to a point almost a decade
Making
ago.
$9,000 a year.
Yeah, $9,000 a year. But in some days, I made that in a day. In when I got into the industry.
Of
So
course.
I want to empower people with that confidence that they can do it.
Right.
I talk not only about financial. I talk about entrepreneurship. I
Yes.
talk about what are the things that someone can do. I talk about job money. I talk about passive money. I talk about skill money. There's different concepts that starts shifting the relationship that someone has with money, and just opens up a whole channel for them to really start exploring things that they may not have thought possible earlier.
I wish we had more time, but you do talk about tax diversification, which is important, and also building an exit strategy. Just in a couple minutes, Adam, we are living in a world right now where it's just the market is still so volatile, and we're not in the 1920s where we had that crash. Obviously, the Big Depression, which caused more than half America to be in poverty, to be impoverished.
Mm-hmm.
How do we protect ourselves now with a volatile market, and what are the strategies that you can give average Joe American to do now in a few minutes, if you can describe what we can do?
Yeah, so I love the fact that you mentioned protection, right? So, the 20s and the 80s and the 2000s, and the 2008, unfortunately, history has a pattern of repeating
Correct.
itself, right? And so,
Unfortunately.
to live in a bubble and think that it's not going to happen again, that's, I would say, misleading. And so, protecting that, if you built wealth, you have, a lot of different financial tools to protect that and protect yourself and your family, and you can help with a lot of that as well. But creating strategies that are short-term, mid-term, and long-term, right? So everything discretionary that we have, and when we pay ourselves first, we do this with discretionary dollars, right? Extra money that we create a habit of saving first before we spend, as opposed to spending and then saving, right? So splitting it into 3 buckets, an emergency fund, an opportunity fund, and then a financial independent fund will allow you to really, withstand the storm, if you will, the fluctuations up and down. And, and will also allow you, the opportunity fund, for example, allow you to deploy cash or liquid money when things do contract. Because, when people see crashes, other people who are, really have some experience with finances, see a lot of huge opportunities. So imagine if you have money to take advantage of those opportunities, you will triple, quadruple the outcome for yourself and your family. And of course, we always let that financial independence bucket cruise, and just, it's really a discipline to make sure that if anything else didn't work, you'll at least have this bucket that will take care of your lifestyle and standard of living.
Can you tell us what that bucket looks like, though, or those buckets look like? Because for me, I'm like, okay, is it a jar of money? Is it a bank account? Is it like a coffee can under your bed?
Is it the mattress?
Is it under the mattress? Because and this goes back to the live feed earlier, because I've always heard it: pay yourself first, yada yada yada. Okay, pay yourself first, but what the hell does that mean and look like? Do you literally write yourself a check and cash it, or what? Nobody ever talks about what it really looks like. Does it mean going down to the bank and open 3 accounts up, and money some goes here and some goes here and some goes here, and I can't touch it. You can't, because here's my problem. I will invest all day long. Girl, we got how many nights do we have? How do I not touch that money? Because it's there. Oh, and it's like saying, "Hey, come spend."
Oh, totally.
Spend.
So
right?
that's a great question. That's a great question. So okay, so what do you do? So if you had a mattress that generate interest, I would say do that. But since we don't have it,
a hole in the yard.
Exactly.
So remember, so you have emergency fund, opportunity fund, and a financial independence fund. They have different accessibility, timelines, right? One, you want to have access to it immediately because you need it for emergency. That's why it's crowned an emergency fund. And you should always demand to get paid. So even an emergency fund that's just in the bank, we can look at something like Bankrate.com or NerdWallet. I mean, today there's so many resources to see who gives us the most money for our checking account or our savings account, and you could be surprised. I mean, today it could be about 2.3 or 2.5% on money that is just sitting there and not doing anything. It's like a money
market account.
It's like a little money. And it's also will protect Edward from not touching it because it's attached to the bank account, but it's an online bank, so you would have to transfer it. So you almost like play tricks a little bit with your mind of first, having an automatic saving, meaning that immediately when you get, your paycheck, 10% of it, that's the portion you pay yourself first, and paying yourself first is just moving it to another account.
So I could move it to my Merrill Lynch account.
Exactly.
And just throw away the card that's attached to it.
Never use that. Might be, well, online banks don't have cards, generally speaking, so you just it will be another step to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Where you're physically going online and you click on a button and you're putting in the $10 in that bank account.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so just, creating some boundaries and insulation around this future things that you want to do for yourself, right?
Okay.
Because you might have a goal. And look, once you fill that bucket of emergency fund, you move that extra discretionary income into opportunity fund. And remember, this one has a longer time horizon. So if this was between 0 to 1 year of emergency that you might need,
Right.
the opportunity, you can have it sit there for longer, because it might be for a house, it might be 5 years, 7 years from now. Then what you demand to get paid is longer, because you can take a little bit of a risk, not exuberant risk like for
It's okay to put it into the market,
a little,
but not
conservatively into the
Conservatively?
market.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, maybe with bonds or other financial tools that you could use that maybe give you about 3, or CD, right? Something that gives you maybe 3% or
Okay.
5%, right? And again, there is a lot of financial institution or firms that will tell you which company will give you the most for your money for the same risk,
Right.
Okay.
right? And Bankrate and Nerd Wallet is just one of the two of
I
those.
haven't even heard of Nerd Wallet.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a
is it?
newer, yeah.
It's kind of like a Credit Karma kind of thing.
yeah,
too.
it's
Oh, it
like
is?
that,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then the financial independent is what you do for yourself or what you create for yourself for the future. And because it has much longer time horizon, maybe 7 years to 30 years, that could generate for you like 7, 8, 10, 12% double digits. And again, that will double, you'll see the most, multiplication effect, because and that bucket should also be diversified. Not only diversified with what financial tools you put in there, but also diversified with what tax treatment it's going to have when you decide to get that income for the future.
That's
We can
very
go
great.
on and on and on and on, but we're going to close this segment of the show. Thank you so much. And real quick, this podcast is going to be released on Tuesday. Your book launch, when people can actually get it, is July 25th, correct?
Yes.
Next Thursday.
Yeah.
And how can people get your book, Adam?
We will be on Amazon. We're actually working on getting an Amazon bestseller. It'd be amazing. I would love to celebrate with you when we get there.
Yes, of course.
For sure.
I'm
and
so
so-
bummed I'm going to be missing his launch because I'm traveling to Boston that day. So I'm definitely going to be there in spirit.
Yes.
And so we're so excited. And where is the launch again? One more time.
It's in Culver Hotel.
Culver City
Culver
Hotel.
City Hotel.
The
Culver
landmark
Hotel-
one.
The landmark one.
Mhm.
And it's between 5 and 7. It's going to be a lot of fun,
Yeah.
cocktails,
Oh, wow.
food,
Okay.
Cocktails,
like
food,
good
hey.
people,
Hey.
networking. Yeah.
You should go, Edward.
Yeah, I think it would be great. I'd have to talk to the boss and see if I can.
I think
get
I'll
that
let you
worked out.
off that
Yeah,
day.
I think y'all just bring him. Yeah,
Oh, that's right, because you have two bosses in your life.
that boss.
The other
one.
boss. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Adam, so much. Great information you shared on tonight's podcast, and very valuable. I really love it
It
when
really
you're here.
was.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys are incredible.
Yay! After this break, we're going to have some more stuff to talk about.
Queen ShanShan, I hear you have a date tonight.
Why, yes, I do. And we're actually looking for a place to eat for dinner tonight. Any suggestions?
Yes, I know the perfect place. Ma's Italian Kitchen.
Great idea. They have an amazing seared salmon plate, grilled New York steak, and also baked chicken parmigiana.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You know what? I gotta tell them Queen ShanShan sent me. Hunty. So Adam, when you were on the show a few months ago, I created this little segment called Wiglet.
ShanShan, and this is a
Hey, I know that
Hey!
sound bite.
That's awesome. That's my show. Work, Adam, work.
Dun 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 dun.
You can't even turn it off.
Dun 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 dun.
Okay. Thanks for having me on your phone like that. I
Proof.
appreciate that.
That's proof.
This is a little Wiglet of the week, and
You won't go away.
I'm not leaving ever. And I just wanted to have a little reminiscence period of just remembering some of the shows that we had in season 2. One of my favorite episodes was episode 3 in season 2, My Playdates with Laquifa. and Kendra Waldman was my co-host, and we talked about masturbation.
Scandalous.
It was scandalous, honey. I was so nervous to have her on the show, but I'm so grateful to have her on the show because actually that show right now to this day is still one of my top 5 shows of the season, and people are loving it. People are still listening to it. And of course, I had my good friend Wendy Dugan, who's trans woman. She was phenomenal. Thank you, Wendy, for being on the show. That was a great show, and still people are cashing in and listening to it right now because they really want to know what a life of a trans woman is all about. Because we went into it, Edward, as you know. We talked about the surgery, we talked about dating, we talked about sex, we talked about everything on
all
the
of
show.
it. We didn't leave any stone uncovered, unturned. Rather.
I've gotten so many people. One of my friends, Ryan, had DM'd me and said, "Girl, you got into that episode."
Right? We did.
She's amazing too.
We did. And she was very forthcoming about it, which I liked about.
Thank you, Wendy.
And as far as Kendra goes, this just goes to show you about never have preconceived conceptions about anyone because, you know, just hearing what she wrote a book about and all that stuff, I'm like, who is this? Please. Right. And she comes in and she's like polished to the nines. She's a mathematician. Like she has like she knows math really well.
Yeah, she does.
And I just was like, okay,
right?
You got me, girl.
Right,
you got me.
What was your other favorite episode this season?
Mine, of course, was Andrea's episode. It was a 2-parter. It's about she's an entrepreneur and she's like a designer and she's launching a new swimsuit line.
Actually, the website launched today, by the way.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, Swimanista. Hi, Andrea. You listening? I know you are, girl.
Yeah, of course she is, and we love you.
Love her.
She did rock. I don't know if you remember Rockin' Republic. She owned that jean company back in the day, and she sold it. But anyway, loved her because she's an entrepreneur, and I connect with entrepreneurs because I'm just like I am one by day sometimes or by night.
You are an entrepreneur.
I am.
Friend. So her website is swimanista.com, and she launched a swim line. So she's doing very well, and we're so happy for you, Andrea. What episode did you like? Do you remember any particular episodes you liked, Adam, that you listened to? Besides yours?
Was that this season or last season?
That was
I think it was in the first season.
Yeah, it's in the first season.
What was the first one? The first and second episode. Do you remember those?
Our premiere shows?
Yeah, the
that
premiere
was back
shows.
in November.
That's the highest rated show.
Back.
I love those.
You're going back in time.
You know, that's our roots. He's right.
Yeah.
Our roots are good.
Our roots are very good.
They're good. People love those shows.
Now you're all fancied up.
We're fancy now, honey.
I know.
But I think every show this season was so fantastic. I'm still learning my sound. I'm still learning my voice. I'm still learning how to interview people. So I appreciate everybody who is sticking to me through the thick and thin because we're taking you guys to a whole different level. Season 3, y'all ain't ready. Y'all are not ready for season 3. I'm telling you, I have some guests that you're going to be like, how the heck did she get those people on the show?
The Madonna minute's paying off.
Madonna, are you listening?
She coming? I would like to co-host.
Oh my God, Adam! If I had Madonna on the show,
Madam X is coming.
When you'll have her.
When I have Madonna, this is the wish list. Yes. Madonna, Beyonce, Oprah Winfrey, Janet Jackson, Jamie Foxx, Chris D'Elia, Lin-Manuel Miranda, and Obama. Both of them.
Never hurts to reach for the stars.
That's amazing. Hey, Edward, what's your wish list?
Madonna. That's it.
Who doesn't want to have Madonna?
And Paul McCartney probably, and I don't know, Meryl Streep probably.
She's
Nicole Kidman.
Have you been watching the season Big Little Lies? Mm-hmm. Her and Nicole are killing it. This next Sunday show is going to be phenomenal.
Amazing.
If you had a choice of interviewing someone, Adam, who would you interview?
Arnold. Arnold, Madonna.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Some of the bands that were, the Beatles, but then,
So Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Gandhi, I would love to, but
we're talking about people who are
I know. Buffett, definitely.
Oh, okay.
Cuban.
Not Jimmy Buffett.
Not Jimmy
Buffett.
But interviewed Jimmy
The Rock.
Buffett too.
Yeah. The Rock. Oh, my brother loves Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's hilarious too.
Gal Gadot.
Yes.
Oprah. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're gonna put that in the universe because We are going to interview these people. Watch.
Yeah.
They're going to come to my studio and they're going to be interviewed. We're manifesting that, Adam. You'll be my first.
We just
You'll be my
created
audience.
it. We
It's out
just
there.
created it.
It's out there. You can't pull it back.
It's out there.
It's out there.
All right, manifest. All right, universe, work for it. Yeah. And that's our little Wiglet moment. Adam, you spoke of our first 2 episodes just now, and we're talking about getting back to our roots. Edward and I started a little thing on our show, the day in history. Today's what happened basically the day that we're recording, right? So this is a throwback Thursday type of moment, #TBT. But Edward, you do have a historical moment. What happened today? It's really interesting.
I do. There were several things that happened, but I'm going to use your word. Put this on the schedule.
Yes.
That's a throwback word that you use.
Is.
I put this on the schedule to talk about because in 64 AD or CE, it's the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Common era.
It's the Great Fire of Nero, and the ancient history of firefighting is what this article is about. And what that means is, on this night, 1,955 years ago.
Wow.
That's how long ago that was. Okay, on this night in Rome, a fire began within the city of Rome that would rage on for over a week. To this day, there are many misconceptions about the fire and the role of the disaster in shaping Roman history. But we should perhaps also explore the role of the Roman firemen who explore and put out the fires back in these days. Okay, so we had firemen back 2,000 years ago.
Of course.
And so what happened was a fire broke out in the just think of in the market. Okay, a market like the bazaar and
Right.
you're going to Turkey. So it caught the entire city on fire. Well, this is back in such a tense time that Nero, okay, he was a very despotic ruler, I believe. He blamed the Christians on the fire.
First century Christians.
The first century Christians, and this led to the persecution of Christians.
That's right. Jewish Christians, too.
Jewish Christians. And it all started over a market fire in the city of Rome, which actually incidentally burned 2/3 of Rome. And it took like over 6 or 7 days. So you can't build Rome in a day, obviously, but you can burn it in a week.
Right.
So, the takeaway was, what was interesting was political.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things that are happening persecution-wise to
Wow,
our
interesting how the
discrimination is never
history,
good.
like you said, repeats itself. How people blame other things and basically what was the basic reason of that fire? That maybe someone had a campfire overnight and it went out of control, but this politician blamed religion.
The religions. Put it on the religious people.
And that became major persecution on the Christianity religion.
He killed Peter and Paul.
Yep, he sure did.
So.
I think Peter was the one who was sawn in half. One of the apostles were sawn in half. I don't know if it was Peter or Paul.
Paul was
Simon.
the lions, right?
Or Simon.
No.
Oh.
I'm not sure.
This is where my mom needs to be on the
I
show.
know, right?
She would quote that Bible
She was
scripture in
terrible.
2 seconds, even if she can't remember things 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. So that was. Can you
Preserved for the.
Can you just
Yes.
wrap your mind around that for a minute? Like 1,955 years ago tonight that was going down. Could you imagine the CNN report?
Ugh.
Like going down right now?
Yeah.
Rome is burning and
Yeah.
starting a fire in the basement of the city basically, and
Yeah.
the entire city burned down.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
So that's your day in history.
Thanks, Edward. So this week, I had a personal tragedy happen. My aunt passed away last night. She was 82. Louise Johnson. She had some health issues for quite a while, and her body just gave out yesterday after a strong fight. Louise Johnson, we love you. She was a strong, independent woman who raised 3 children by herself. She was a single mother, and she leaves 4 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. She was my mother's sister, and it was very, very sad. My mom's very sad. Everybody's sad, but we were preparing for this mentally. But on the emotional side, it just still hurts. I remember going to Louise's house when we were kids, playing games with my cousins, and she would make this outlandish, just like all kinds of soul food, from grits to fried chicken to pig's feet and pig's feet sandwiches, which I couldn't stand.
Ugh.
Chitlins, gross. Ugh.
Oh.
I am not a Southern girl, even though I'm from a Southern. My mom's Southern, my family's Southern. I am not Southern. But the house smelled of chitlins, but of cornbread and lemons and lemonade and watermelons. You know, my family's straight from the South, and Louise would burn a grill, honey. So we want to say we love you, Louise. We are very grateful that you were a matriarch of our lives. I will always remember Louise to be tenacious, and she was stubborn, but she had a healthy laugh. She loved to cook, she loved to entertain, and she loved to play card games with my mom and dad, my brother. We will always remember you, Louise Edwards Johnson. Rest in power. Adam, you are our season finale guest.
What an honor.
Did you have a good time?
Yes, I had a great time. I always have a great time with you guys.
Aww.
Thank you for coming again.
Yes, we really appreciate it. And we miss Amanda. We know that
Okay.
she's busy working on her RTB Capital company. So good luck with you. Good luck, Amanda, on that venture. I know you're doing very well. She's doing gangbusters, right?
She's incredible.
She's incredible.
Right.
We can promise you guys this. Season 3 is really going to be off the chain. We're going to have some amazing guests, controversial guests, hotter topics that'll make you probably cringe and be uncomfortable.
Can't wait.
Cannot wait for that. Award-winning guests and some personal topics that's going to reach your heart and soul. I really can't wait to tell these stories. So I want to say thank you again for listening to me. Thank you, Edward, for being my partner.
You're welcome.
And my
I
friend.
wouldn't have it any other way.
Thank you.
And you're welcome.
And-
And that's the most important part. the friend,
Being friendship, the friendship is definitely there.
for sure.
I really appreciate you. Don't make me start crying.
I'm not. Yes, but I'm actually trying to. It's a ratings week.
We are concluding season 2. I want to say again, thank you to all the broads listening to my show, A Broadcast Podcast. We are going to have some amazing content. And I'm just grateful, absolutely grateful to you all. In closing, I'm Queen ShanShan, and thank you for listening to Abroad.